Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, Karen. I think he's here. I can't see. I think he just walked.
Virginia's, I went back twice to find it. It's back there. Virginia's been looking. I even emailed him to do this kind of stuff after that. I've got two emergency announcements. One lost their car to the hotel, and the other one has parking lights on.
Okay.
That
Yes. That's important. Good morning. Welcome both here in the sanctuary and those of you that are at home on YouTube or somewhere on YouTube. Welcome to the Sunday service. You never know. Welcome to the Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg on the unceded ancestral lands of the Tocobaga and Seminole Native Americans. My name is John Motter. I'm on the worship committee and the racial justice team. And today, Reverend Ben has a day off, and so the racial justice team asked if we could present this service to you. I'm excited to bring you today's service, worship service. It's the 8th principle, leaning into our vulnerabilities to learn and grow. And we're giving it to you along with the UUSP choir and the bell choir. And my worship associate today is Karen Cole.
Thanks, John.
If you want a church where we believe that everyone is worthy of love, where Black lives matter, where love is love, and where we value and respect our planet, I have good news. You may have found your church home. We have 2 announcements today for things that are happening today, but before I cover those, I just want to, if someone has lost the key to your comfort room I have it, see me after service. Okay, and if you have a gray Honda parked right outside the front door, your parking lights are on. So I don't think you want a surprise diminished battery when we finish service. Okay, the first is that we have talkbacks following the service, and per UUA custom, there will be 2, one for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, typically shortened to BIPOC folks, in Ben's office, and one for those of us who identify as white here in our sanctuary. So grab a cup of coffee and join the applicable group. The links will be provided in the text chat for those of you who are joining us via Zoom. The second is the annual giving campaign. As of this morning, we have recorded 72 pledges totaling over $139,000. So, thanks for your investment in the future of this congregation. However, if you had not yet completed your online pledge, please do so by Tuesday, March 21st. If you need a little extra help, then come to the help desk at coffee hour today. There are many other announcements in the order of service. Please read them. And this is especially true for those watching virtually, check out the calendar on the website or the UU St. Pete Weekly, which goes out via email every Friday evening.
Thank you, Karen. I want to say a few words about today's service. Our church will be deciding whether or not to adopt the 8th principle, a copy of which is on the flip side of the insert where the chalice lighting is. The majority of the service has been written by Black Unitarian Universalists and are listed in the order of service along with a little swirl next to it. Excuse me. Our worship service this morning is uniquely prophetic. It calls to us who identify as white to listen humbly and perhaps with some discomfort to the lived reality of Black Unitarian Universalists in our midst. This discomfort is a gesture of hospitality to voices that have not been heard enough, a chance to lean into new learning, and a sign that we're growing in the right direction. If you're joining us today as a guest, know that you are witnessing this Unitarian Universalist congregation doing important work. Collectively, we will wrestle with what it means to be a majority white faith whose anti-racist intentions have not always been borne out. We invite you to witness this moment of transparency and vision and to join us in future Sundays for a more traditional worship service. We are truly a people of many beliefs, but we share a common faith that what we do in the world matters and that we are connected to one another and to our planet. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your journey, you are welcome here. I want to give a special welcome to any newcomers. If you are new to USP or even relatively new, can you give us a wave? Welcome, everybody. So typically, this is when we give you a chance to introduce yourselves and we bring the mic out to you, which is terrifying for a lot of people. So I've got good news for that. We're not going to do introductions today just because the service is pretty full. So you can go home, rest for a week, build up that fortitude, and then next week when you come in, you can get on the mic and introduce yourself then. Thank you for silencing your cell phones. And then our evolving safety protocol is designed to protect the most vulnerable, and masks are strongly encouraged but optional in our worship service. Let's take a moment to greet our neighbor, but remember to get consent if you're going to hug them or shake their hand.
Please be seated. May this truly be a sanctuary that inspires us to live out our faith by serving the cause of love and justice in the world. May our hearts be kind and our spirits emboldened to act. May the fire of our commitment burn boldly, because we know that all beings long as we do for love, laughter, and care. Our flaming chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It is a symbol of hope, the sacred, the quest for truth, the warmth of community, the light of reason, and so much more. We bless this space and each other with our intention for love and service. For this week only, we are using alternative words written by the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Savage. They can be found on the insert in your order of service or in the text chat. I will give you a quick second to locate the words, and then you can follow along as John lights the chalice. We light our flaming chalice as a beloved people, united in love and thirsting for restorative justice. May it melt away the tethers that uphold whiteness in our midst. May it spark in us a spirit of humility. May it ignite in us radical love that transforms our energy into purposeful action. This a chalice of audacious hope. This chalice shines light on altered paths, signaling our intention to listen deeply, reflect wisely, and move boldly toward our highest ideal. Now please rise as you are willing and able for our first hymn, Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. It's number 201 in the gray hymnal.
So you may notice down below that it says traditional. This song is a spiritual, and I suspect that it existed a long time. It's an anonymous piece. We have no idea who really wrote it or what their initial inspiration was, but undoubtedly it existed before the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which also has Glory, Hallelujah in its lyrics. And you'll notice down the very right-hand corner of the book, it says Sojourner. They always name the tune of these songs in our hymnal, and since it's a traditional spiritual piece going way back, I don't know who named it Sojourner, but I'm sure it was named after Sojourner Truth. So anyway, glory, glory. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Feel like shouting, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Feel like shouting, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Sweeter, so much sweeter, since I laid my burden down. So much sweeter, since I laid my burden down. Feel like dancing, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Feel like dancing, go on, dance, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Love is shining, hallelujah. Lay my burden down. Since I lay my burden down. Hallelujah.
So now it's time for all ages. If any kids in the sanctuary? Did I miss this? No. If any kids want to come on down, and you can gather on the steps just in front of the bell table. And we're using technology. You know how that goes. I've got a backup plan, but hopefully it's all. just need the remote. So good morning. So today we're going to show a little video from Cartoon Network. It was a PSA that was done. Thank you. It's a PSA that was done as part of a series for Cartoon Network on anti-racism. And we've talked before about people's skin color and how beautiful everybody has different colors of skin and how beautiful that is. But that sometimes people get treated differently because of that. And so that's what this video is about. And it's just a minute and a half. Maybe.
Color blindness is our game because everyone's the same. Everybody join our circle. Doesn't matter if you're white or black or purple. What the? Whoa. Hold up a minute here. Ugh, who wrote this? I think it kind of does matter that I'm purple. I mean, I'm purple because I'm literally an alien.
Well, I'm not an alien, but it definitely matters to me that I'm black.
Yeah, it makes a difference that I'm white. I know the two of us get treated very differently. I just think it's messed up to compare me being an alien to you two being different races. You're both human. You're totally biologically the same. Adding purple people into a lesson about human racism makes no sense.
Yeah,
that is pretty weird. I think people like the black, white, or purple thing because adding a fantasy race in there helps distract from the actual racism black people have to deal with.
Right. My experience with anti-black racism is really specific. Other people of color experience other forms of racism too, but you won't see any of that if you don't see color.
Dude, so this entire public service announcement could be a ploy to avoid talking about racism altogether. Hey, can we get a rewrite where we appreciate each other without erasing what makes each of us different?
Okay, but it's gonna add a couple hours to the shoot.
I can make it work.
Open. You were rolling just now, weren't you? Can't we just slap some graphics on this and call it a day?
So that's it. We're going to do, Karen's got a little bit of announcement, and you're going to go off to class. But before we start singing you off to class, we'll let Karen go.
This morning, as we sing the children out, our younger members are collecting food for one of our social justice programs, Southside Food Bridge, which will be delivered to the St. Pete Youth Farm and members of the Mount Olive AME Church in Fort Myers, who are still suffering from Hurricane Ian. Thank you for your generosity.
Supposed to do this. So Janae, our religious education director, is taking a few days off to rest and rejuvenate. I don't know how she does it between her work here and studies for Star King Divinity School. She really needs that break. But before she took the rest, she produced a really powerful poem and video for us, and so we'll play that.
We are born as we are, naked and vulnerable, hungry and afraid, looking for the light, our heads turned to the voices in the room. We can hear, we can see, barely, but we breathe. Our first feeding, now we can taste. Memories of life inside the womb begin to erase with the new views of this outer space. No colors, just faces. Now, soothing as this is, time must flow and introduce growth. Mental programming of what our parents understood and understand, what society demands, educational plans, book bans, separation of the classes, indoctrination of the masses, the program we all grew up in, your life path, his life path, her life path, their life path. The default narrative has been that skin that looks like the palm of my hand is in, but my skin on the other side is the other. See, my hair texture, unlike any other culture on earth, was banned from work environments, which the Crown Act was birthed. What am I worth? Highways drop strategically, halting the growth of black communities, dropping bombs from planes, women, men, and children all died the same, cutting the braids of our native kin to bleaching skin, doing anything to get us to want to blend in. We see you, superiority, and treating us inferior. We are born as we are, naked and vulnerable, hungry and afraid. We have grown up in the program where it shows the beginning of the black race starting off as slaves. Imagine the programming of insecurity, of doubt, lack of faith, rage, and anger a child is shown chronologically, year after year, every February. Now imagine seeing your face on every billboard, every snack you buy, every commercial, every magazine, every toy, every motivational speaker, every actor and actress look like you. You never question until they change the skin of a character that has always been reflective of you. Black lives matter. No, all lives matter because semantics is justified, right? The stars in the sky hold the names of the faces that also look like you. Imagine the sense of self, the sense of belonging, the sense of ownership that flows throughout your body. Feel this. See, we are born as we are, naked and vulnerable. But the programs that are set in stone only work for a select few. I did not grow up noticing you. That shit and work that we are here to do starts internally within each and every one of you. I can't change how you think, but I can give you a thought to consider. We are not a pet, property, or your The very thought of those words make our skins quiver. The default reflects who you look like. All the time you see yourself. You see yourself all the time. But we are all human beings, and to acknowledge this is to be divine. Expand your mind and acknowledge your role in each person you encounter in life. See, every day we get to decide. If black is considered wrong, then white must be considered right. Right's wrong. Ignorance can be enlightened by knowledge. I'm not talking about college. The wisdom that we earn as we learn and grow because we are born as we are, naked and vulnerable, hungry and afraid. Some people exist like this every single day. The idea of separation tells us we have nothing in common, when the very start of our existence shared so much with one another. If we can get past it, if we can get past it, if we can get past this, we are born as we are, naked and vulnerable. We are vulnerable.
I want to thank Janae for doing that. And I also have to take this quick opportunity as somebody on the facilities master plan that I can't wait for the day that we have video screens in the sanctuary. So it's a little ways off, but I'm hoping that sooner than later. So now's the time in our worship service for joys, sorrows, and concerns. This service is being brought to you via YouTube Live, so please type your joys and concerns into the text chat. If you have a joy, sorrow, or concern to submit during the week, please write to Reverend Ben at minister@uustpete.org. If you would prefer for it to remain off of YouTube, let me know or let him know and when you submit it. We also have cards. If anybody, I've gotten a couple handed up, but if anybody in the sanctuary has a card that they want to send forward, either bring it forward or one of the greeters can grab it and bring it forward. And we have Kathleen Rill, who will place a stone in the water for each that was submitted this week.
Our first is from Johanna Zeman. She has a stone of concern for Bob Manners, a kind friend and neighbor who has cancer.
And we have one from Earl Waters. My husband of nearly 54 years is having a terrible health issues, physical and mental. Please send positive energy his way. Are there any others that?
Yes, I have one here from Susan Gore. UUSP member Ian O'Hara's election as Gulfport's newest city councilor, minister. Wow.
City councilman. Councilman.
Councilman. It says council member. Okay. Council. Congratulations. Are you here? I thought I saw him earlier. Okay. Yeah.
So if that's it, the only one you had? Okay. Short one this week. May we bring to mind and hold close to our hearts all those known and unknown who are facing life challenges. May we model behavior that teaches our youth to value the worthiness of others and reduce the incidence of bullying. May we embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. And may all of you who are facing challenges find a comforting presence in the warmth of fellowship and community. We will place the final stone for those joys and concerns that remain in our hearts, perhaps too tender to be spoken out loud. The mystery is that we are connected even when we feel apart. Let us rejoice in our beloved community that makes of the many one. So may it be. After we sing Spirit of Life, let's observe 1 minute of silence. You can use this time for prayer, for meditation, or simply to be silent with others around you.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blowing the wind, rising the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots only close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
This morning's service is being brought to you by the Racial Justice Team. This is our second service since we formed last fall. The team's purpose is to support the building of an anti-racist, multicultural, beloved community within UU St. Pete, and then into the wider geographical area. This is an ambitious task and requires personal and communal work from all of us. The Florida legislature's proposed bills that trample freedom of speech, public education, LGBTQ rights, and women's ownership of our bodies. They terrify me, and they certainly push my anger buttons. I also have a major concern is that they're distracting. They can distract us from what we're really important to do here in this congregation, which is to build a multicultural, beloved community. Last Sunday, Cal Fox mentioned the fact that he felt within our church, he felt comfort within our church community. And I so resonate with that sentiment. Our dream is that all who come here find that comfort and feel not only at home, but understood and valued. We displayed these two banners, the multicolored, multicultural banner and the Black Lives banner at the two lecterns here and over there at our November service. Today, we have them on the north wall of our sanctuary. Why here? Sanctuary is where we worship, where we make communal decisions and plan our future. The banners serve as aspirational reminders of what we want to become as we come together to worship, to plan, and make decisions. Yes, the journey is going to be long and complicated, but together, as a multicultural, beloved community, we can and will defy these vicious and self-serving external forces and build community within these walls and across St. Pete to replace divisiveness with genuine love and respect. Let's all risk being vulnerable and lean into one another, but grow together for ourselves personally, our church, for the city, state, and our nation. Blessed be.
Thank you, Karen. I'm Christine Barker, a member of this congregation and a grateful member of our racial justice team. Our first reading today is called Stay With Us by Reverend Krista Tavis. Reverend Tavis is a white woman, a Native Canadian, and is a consulting minister serving in Quincy, Illinois, and the UU Fellowship of La Crosse, Wisconsin. So remember the title as I read this, Stay With Us. She writes, "My stomach turned when I first heard the term white supremacy used to describe the culture of Unitarian Universalism and our institutions. But I've reconsidered that response. I understand the pushback. We as white people have been trained to see white supremacy as an overt expression of racism, replete with burning crosses, white hoods, Confederate flags, lynchings, and angry white people shouting racist epithets. This view allows liberal whites to distance themselves from racism and believe that we are not part of it. But white supremacy is way bigger than the way we've been trained to understand it. White supremacy is a way of thinking that devalues the experiences, insights, and living reality of people of color. White supremacy is a way of thinking that devalues the experiences, insights, and lived reality of people of color. The consequences of this thinking have the real-life impact of denying people of color a real voice with real power. Rarely is this culture explicit or even conscious in liberal white communities. It's implicit and unconscious. It's brave to call white supremacy what it is. In fact, it sets us apart from most liberal institutions, which are in complete denial about the power of racism to shape their decisions and their processes. Just to follow up on what Karen was saying, think about our state, right, of Florida, and how wonderful it is that we as Unitarian Universalists have the opportunity to be different. There is not one institution in this country that is not shaped by white supremacy, and that includes institutions run by people of color. We have all been indoctrinated into white supremacy thinking. There's no reason to feel shame or fear. As white people, it is not our fault. We are not stained. We are not irredeemable. Our Universalist heritage says that no one is left behind. Let's anchor in that promise. If you want to journey into wholeness, you want to live into the transformative pain and possibility of this one incredible life you're living, if you want to experience a community that doesn't shy away from calling truth to power, then resist your urge to run away or to distance yourself from this work. Stay with us. Bend into the task at hand. Dare to be vulnerable. Stay with us.
Good morning. My name's Ariana. I'm a member of the board and a member of our racial justice team. I'm going to read from you from a man named Kenny Wiley, who is an African-American UU, who was the senior editor of UU World from 2015 to 2018. And this is called Your Life Matters. Most of us Unitarian Universalists are here because we felt welcome here at last. Some of us were too agnostic somewhere else. Some of us weren't vindictive enough somewhere else. We were too working class somewhere else. We were too lesbian somewhere else. We were too nerdy somewhere else. Too introverted somewhere else. Too gay married somewhere else. Many of us are here because this faith and the people in it affirmed you may not be perfect, but your life matters just the same. That's what's on the line now. Through racism and posthumous victim blaming, through silence and bullets and indifference and vilification, Black people are being told that our lives do not matter, or that they matter only conditionally. Black lives matter if we are educated, if we are respectful, and sometimes not even then do our lives matter. Right now, we as Unitarian Universalists are being called to act. We are being called by our ancestors, those who demanded that we help end slavery, that we fight for suffrage, that we join the struggle to end Jim Crow, and that we listen to and honor Black power. Our UU ancestors are calling to us. Lydia Marie Child is calling to us. William Lloyd Garrison is calling to us. Lucy Stone is calling to us. Fannie B. Williams and Frances Ellen Harper are calling to us. James Reeb is calling us. Viola Luiso is calling us. Guided by that enduring, unfulfilled promise of the belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, ours is a faith that has said, or worked to say to those who have been marginalized, you are a woman and your life matters. You are gay and lesbian and your life matters. You are transgender and your life matters. You are bisexual and your life matters. You have a disability and your life matters. You were not loved as a child and your life matters. You are unhoused and your life matters. Right now we are being called by our ancestors, by our principals, by young Black activists across the country to promote and affirm you are young and Black and your life matters. You stole something and your life matters. I have been taught to fear you and your life matters. The police are releasing your criminal record and your life matters. They are calling you a thug and your life matters. Our ancestors, principals, and fellow humans are calling on us to promote and affirm with deeds and words that Black lives matter.
Today's reflection is not something I've written. These words were first spoken by Dr. Takia Nur-Amin during the 2021 Side with Love service. Dr. Amin has been a member of the Black Lives of UU Organizing Collective Board since 2016. As I read through it the first time, I kept nodding my head and audibly saying, yes, yes, this, through the whole thing. It's exactly what I thought. I may not have authored this reflection, but it does feel what I think, and I wish I had authored it, because they're fantastic words. Here we go with her words. In every moment, life is giving us an invitation. I really believe that. I really believe that in every moment, life is giving us an invitation to do the things that are most loving and life-affirming, and doing the loving and life-affirming thing is always the answer when you don't know what to do, or if you're feeling unsure. There's always a moment of invitation to rethink or reevaluate. We're being invited into this cosmic dance of renewal and joy and justice. But you have to make the justice. It doesn't just show up without our participation and our efforts. Things don't get better just by us waiting for them to happen. We all have to engage in the better making from wherever we are, and each moment presents an invitation for us to do that. I don't want us to forget that. Even if, like me, you are tired of feeling frustrated and feeling unsure, the invitation to participate in a manner that is about living our values, living love and justice, is still there, no matter what else is going on. Ask yourself, what's the most life-affirming thing that I can do in this moment for myself or for other people? Sometimes it's just get some rest. Sometimes it's apologize for something that you've done. Sometimes it's reconsider how you're using your money or other resources in the broader world. To me, if we're talking about racial justice, love is about acknowledging that there has been wrong, that there has been harm perpetrated, and that whether you personally feel like you participated in it or not, you are benefiting from the inequitable results of that harm. Even if you are a person who wants to say, well, I didn't participate in making things this way, if you are benefiting from the ill-gotten gains, then you have some responsibility to make things right, especially if you then turn around and say that you believe in justice and equity. That's right. You are not let off the hook, no matter what. When we have broader conversations about reparations or what it looks like to repair, particularly the harms that have been done to indigenous communities, Black communities, and other communities of color, I believe that love means thinking about the resources that enable life. So what does reparation look like at the intersection of communities of color and healthcare, or communities of color and education? What does it look like to have those kinds of conversations, beyond just conversations about money and land that is owed, but also about accessing resources that have been inequitably distributed for more than a century? All of us should have a hand in those conversations, and all of us have some responsibility to bring about justice in those contexts. Plainly, if you're not doing that work, if you're not going to be committed to thinking about that, how you can serve in that work, it obfuscates the mandate of what it means to be Unitarian Universalist, because ours is a faith that calls us to do things. Being UU, in part, means that maybe you don't pray the way I pray. Maybe you don't pray at all. But how do we live together in equitable community despite what I might think about God or what you might think about God? This is a faith that causes us to commit to the work of making justice. This is a faith that calls us to think about what it means, not to believe the same, but to live together in beloved community despite our discrete perspectives about spirituality or the afterlife. That is a part of the call, the mandate of what it is to be UU, to figure out how we live together in loving, equitable, just relationships with each other. I believe that the proof of our faith is the extent to which we do that. The proof of our faith is not in some confession that we make. The proof of our faith is not in some words that we say. The essence of our endeavor, the proof of what we believe, is in how we do the work of bringing love, justice, and community together. In these next paragraphs, she talks about salvation. For me, I look to the secular definition of the meaning of deliverance from harm or truth. It's up to you to take your belief of salvation in whatever way you choose. But as UUs, I think we've given up perhaps too quickly on the notions of salvation, If we think about the notion of being saved from harm, I don't know that it's actually possible to have personal salvation beyond the community. There is no way for you to have salvation and some kind of perfect, flourishing life outcome while everything around you is suffering and burning, because we are all connected. We are. And if COVID didn't affirm that in your mind, then I don't know what to tell you. Think about it. We spent the last few years suffering through a global pandemic together. People passing a deadly virus to each other through our breath that we couldn't see. This can still happen, but thankfully it's at much lower rates now. But that's a metaphor for us all being connected, if I've ever heard one. And I think it's something that we would do well to think about and remember. Our salvation is intimately tied up in each other's ability to see other people as worthwhile, all life as having value and possessing dignity, and that's not the same as liking me. This is not, I need you to like me. This is not, I need somebody to go to the mall and shop with. This is, I understand that I have as much of a right to human thriving and flourishing as anybody else, and that I have as much to offer as anyone else, and so do you. How do we create a context where all of that is possible, where all of that human driving and life is possible? That's going to require sacrifice and time and deep listening and nuance, but that's what being UU requires. Our faith traditions ask for other things. This is what other faith traditions ask for other things, but this is what Unitarian Universalism asks of us. This is what we signed up for, and to me, this is serious. The call of our faith is critical right now. It's not a faith of anything goes. When I hear people say, I'm UU because I believe whatever I want, that's actually the farthest thing from the truth. It's time to lean into whether or not we really believe it. Or are we just giving ourselves the illusion because we want to have some kind of faith tradition? Do we really believe in the values of our faith to enact them in the larger world in a manner that is bold and clear and unequivocal? People need to know, especially in this moment, what our commitments are. And if we're going to say that we are a faith that is committed to justice, equity, and compassion in human relationships, we have to actually do that. It's not just about saying the thing, we have to do the thing. And frankly, I'd feel better if we did less saying and more doing. I need us to have the collected maturity now to do what our faith asks us to do. Thank you.
Now let us remember our connection to one another, and let us not forget our contributions to support the means to those connections. The purpose of the church, this church, is to encourage all who gather here to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions. Bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering to do this self-supporting church and its ministries. In the sanctuary, the offering will now be given and received.
Thank you, Amy. Now, who knew? Anybody else play an instrument out there? Raise your hand right now. Aha. All right, I'll be recruiting. Thank you so much. Please rise as you are willing and able. You'll notice that there's no hymn number in your program, which I hope makes you very nervous. That frees your hands so that you can sing This Little Light of Mine. And James and I just got back from an amazing pilgrimage to Montgomery, Selma, and Birmingham. And we were in a bus with 40 other people. And every time we went someplace where it was deeply emotional and people were struggling, we would sing this song and it would brighten our spirits. And that's what this song meant throughout the history, especially in the civil rights period. And recently, you know what happened in Charlottesville? Well, the people who were counter-protesting the neo-Nazis decided that they would stand in silence. But the neo-Nazis were coming through and doing their nasty chants. And suddenly they broke into this song and all the neo-Nazis are, what do we do now? I don't know. Anyway, This Little Light of Mine, show out, everybody. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the world, all around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, 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 let it
Now we invite you to follow along as we do. Oh, I cut something out of the. I was up very late editing the script and I cut something out, so I got to figure out what it says. But now's the time that we extinguish our chalice flame. I invite you to follow with the hand gestures. It's light head, warmth heart, fire fingers, as Karen extinguishes our chalice. The words to UUSP's traditional chalice extinguishing are in your order of service or online in the text chat. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world. We're running about 5 minutes late. We're going to do the postlude, and then just a quick words of closing. Is that okay with everybody if we run just a little bit long? Okay. Thank you.
Recently, I was asked by other BIPOC UUs from other regions if I would stay with my congregation if they didn't pass the 8th principle. And while I hadn't thought about it before then, I've thought about it a lot since. And the answer is, I don't know. What I do know is that passing the 8th principle is important to me. And if it doesn't pass, I would be sad, and I would definitely have to re-examine if this was my true church home. So in closing, I leave you with the words of Shannon Lang, a founding member of the Black Lives of Unitarian Universalist Haven's Chicago chapter, entitled Doing the Work That Needs to Be Done. There are UU congregations that haven't adopted the 8th principle or have voted against it because they feel our other principles cover it. But they don't. The other principles absolutely do not cover it. The 8th principle is about action. It's about actively dismantling racism. It specifically speaks to dismantling racism within the institution, our institutions. UU congregations are notorious for saying we want more people of color to come through our doors, that we don't understand why they are not here, why they used to be there and aren't anymore. If your congregation isn't adopting the 8th principle, or you're considering voting against it, there's your answer. To me, a vote against the 8th principle is a vote against me, against our principles, against love. The 8th principle is about doing the work that needs to be done, the work that you think you are doing as individuals and as a congregation, but you're not really doing. By adopting this principle, it would actively show that you really do love and care about the community, as well as care about the BIPOC members of this congregation. Thank you.
Go ahead and enjoy coffee hour, and if you want, come back in here. If you're a person who identifies as white and wanted to do the talk back, those who identify as BIPOC individuals will be in Reverend Ben's office, and you keep walking and just keep on taking less, and you'll end up there. Thank you, everybody.